So I want to thank everyone for attending our webinar today. This is a free webinar brought to you by my company, Situated Research, and my name is Michelle Sherritt. I'm the VP and co-founder here at Situated Research, and today's webinar is video game market research. We're going to talk about concept testing and gamer feedback. So a little bit of an overview, we're going to talk about how your game can come up short using traditional market research. We're also going to talk and discuss about methodologies and tests that you can run on your own on your game concepts to gain more valuable feedback. And we're also going to talk about how you can gain insight with a mixed method approach to paint a detailed picture of your user's experience and inform future games that you'll develop. So digital games are becoming more and more complex, and they are becoming more and more expensive to design and to build. There are early stage market research benefits to doing research at the beginning of a gaming concept, even during the brainstorming stages. We're going to kind of talk about this a little bit today. You want to use sample users prior to designing anything. And we'll go through the benefits to doing that, because really what you want to do is you want to analyze the gamer experience. You want to get insight into the playability of the game, how fun is the game, levels of engagement, how do you communicate within the game with other players, if it's a multiplayer game, etc. So marketing, UX, or production, it's very important to test users throughout. So before a gaming company even started brainstorming a new gaming concept, we tell them to do some market research. We can do online survey research where we can build surveys that will help us to segment our market. Also our sizing. It helps us to get some ideas as far as concepts go. And we can do survey research at pre-launch and post-launch. So as far as market segmentation and sizing, we can develop a comprehensive understanding of the consumer segments that exist out there currently. And we can size up those segments and identify any opportunities for new gaming concepts and ideas. So what's our industry? We're in the video game industry. We're here to help video game companies design a game that is fun, enjoyable, and most importantly, engaging. That way, you build a game that's fun. People want to continue to play. Word of mouth occurs. You can come out with new versions of the game. People will buy it because the previous version was great. So we want to make sure that our clients, our video game clients, are creating games in that manner. So as far as kind of figuring out who is our market segment, we look at geographic settings, demographic settings. So we look at age, gender, occupation, education, marital status, etc. Just depending on the type of game that we are thinking about producing. And we look at the overall user behavior. So we want to look at the benefits that are sought by the users, price, quality of the game. We also look at user status. So are these going to be first-time users? Are these going to be expert users? Is this another version of a game that's already out? What's their experience with the first version? So we figure out who our market segment is, and then we can conduct that research. We can also look at usage rates. So does the user play these types of games every once in a while, or after work? They're hardcore gamers, they play it all the time. And what's their loyalty base to this type of game and to the gaming company? We look at all of this. So nowadays, as digital games are becoming more and more important and more used, social aspects are increasingly important. So we want to emphasize that 4 players can play at once. versus Connect, where only 2 players could play at once. So we want to kind of take a look at that when we're thinking about building a game, figure out how many users can play, how many users are going to be communicating with one another. Can you talk to people across the world? Who can you communicate with? And what are the social aspects to that as well? And we also want to emphasize simplicity, emphasizing games that are simple, quick, not complicated to learn at all, and are fun. So no complicated graphics, gestures, or controls. So like with the Nintendo Wii, we make our little Mii and then we play the game. Very simple, straightforward, to the point. So who are our consumers? 11% of the market are power gamers, and this accounts for 30% of spending in the video game industry. 13% of the market are social gamers, so they enjoy games as a way to interact with friends or to make friends. And 14% are leisure gamers, so they spend 58 hours per month playing, and they prefer more challenging games, quest type games. And then there's 24% that are just occasional gamers. So they play puzzles, word games, board games, mostly on social media. And those are our occasional gamers. So understanding the different segments of consumers is very, very important when designing a game. Now, in the past, there have been some flops as far as games go. Duke Nukem Forever was one of those. People waited 14 years for this game, and it was announced in 1997, and it came out in 2011. And it looked like it came out in 2005, and it played like it too. So it was a complete flop, and that was a shame because people had waited so long for it and the hype was there. So because of that, we suggest for our gaming companies to conduct concept testing. So we use quantitative and qualitative methods to do this. We're evaluating the consumer response prior to any games going to market, or any ideas for that matter, going to the design process. So we conduct interviews, surveys, and we can also do focus groups. In a combination of all three with various quantitative methods, we can evaluate a complete concept more fully and understand it to the nth degree. So most marketers, they use surveys, other market research, their own experience. We like to combine interview, surveys, and focus groups. So as far as quantitative concept testing, there are 3 categories. First, we have concept evaluations. So these are ideas or concepts that we present to consumers to get their feedback. So quantitatively, we evaluate the consumers. So they indicate their purchase intent, the likelihood of playing a trial version of a concept, and also we want to know their play level. The second category is positioning. So concepts are then positioned in the same functional class and are evaluated together. So we take a look at the concept in a positioning point. Then the third category is product concept tests. So consumers first evaluate the concept, then a corresponding product, and then results are then compared. If you look at traditional concept testing flaws, there have always been inadequate means to identify and quantify the criteria that's based on consumer preference of one concept over another. Market researchers would be generalizing how consumers might react to the actual concept instead of talking to users. And no real systematic approach was known to accurately identify criteria for consumer choices, and consumer choices weren't really known either, except by conducting surveys. So traditional concept testing, it's failed. It's failed to provide enough information for marketers and designers to create games specifically tailored for their specific audience because they don't know who their specific audience is. And traditional testing methods have failed because they don't accurately quantify relationships between the consumer and an idea. Consumer choices of existing games is so critical in understanding who your consumer is and who you are building this game for. So as far as gaming flops, most video game releases have been commercial failures, and these poor companies have spent so much time and money. 10% of published games generate 90% revenue. Wow. Some major flops in the past. E.T. was a flop. Pac-Man for Atari accounted for the 1983 video game crash. And here's E.T. for Atari. It's the worst example of a game that was built on a movie. It was made in 5 weeks, and it pretty much showed it to the consumer. Gamers had no idea how to even play it or what they were supposed to do. So obviously no prior testing was done. Focus groups were not conducted, surveys weren't conducted, interviews weren't. They just kind of went on a whim and built a game in 5 weeks, and it showed. For 1983 Pac-Man for Atari, that also was a flop. The home version had a big anticipation from users because Pac-Man at home, people were like, yeah, I want to play it. Like, they were just pumped up. And Atari, they rushed to make the 1981 Christmas deadline because they wanted to get it out to the public for Christmas because they knew that they would sell more for the Christmas holiday. However, the game did sell, but it was boring and the game was confusing. And it led to Warner Communications selling Atari in 1984. Atari never regained their position in the market because of this flop. It was major. To keep these things from happening, there are just clear steps to concepts, to coming up with concept ideas. At the very beginning, when you're brainstorming, it's just an idea. So a small team of designers, tech leads, concept artists, and producers are coming together with a gaming idea. But you have to have a main goal. You have to decide, okay, what is our game going to be about? And we have to write down clearly the concept so that anyone can understand it, no matter what their background is, if they're a designer, tech lead, etc. Then we have to decide on majority gameplay elements, create concept art, and generate a story behind the game. And why is this so important? We need to generate a clear game idea and present that to our users who are going to play this game, to our gamers, and see if they're even going to like it. So as far as methodologies and tests that can be done, online survey research is huge. Figuring out our market segmentation and then getting that sizing down is important because it helps us to develop a comprehensive understanding of the consumer segments that exist within the gaming industry. So we get the size of the segments, then we identify the opportunities for the concepts that we've come up with. And then we look at the overall concept. We gauge the viability before investing in any development. And this saves tons of money. Even though you're hiring a usability firm like ours, it still saves you money in the long run because you don't have to do that going back and forth, and you don't have to go through the whole process of developing a game that's going to be a flop, because then you're losing way more money than it would have ever cost to hire a usability firm. Looking at the overall concept, we can identify key strengths and areas for improvement, and we can hone in on the target audience. We can gather consumer feedback, look at feature lists, look at the concept descriptions, and video footage if we have it. Some other methodologies going along with the survey research, we do that at pre-launch. We also do it at post-launch. But during pre-launch, we can look effectively at the market that the game is going to go through. And we can look at psychographic information, demographic, technographic information, and media consumption profiles of our target audience. And we can test price points as well. We can make ads, do box art, and so much more. At post-launch, when we do online survey research, we gather consumer feedback to gain insights for future development. And then we quantify consumer satisfaction and intent to buy again, because that's going to help us figure out, okay, should we make a new version of this game? Should we make it a series? What should we do? What is the future of this game? Is there a future? Now, during the brainstorming process, we can be along for the ride from the very beginning of coming up with ideas for a new game. Now, that's the ideal situation, but I will tell you 90% of the time, usability firms like ourselves are brought in at the very end, or sometimes after the game's gone to market. And had we been there at the very beginning of the brainstorming process and doing surveys and doing consumer segmentation, etc., the games would be more profitable. The games would have better gameplay because we would have been looking at what users wanted from the very beginning. So if we are brought in at the beginning, an ideal situation, we do idea mapping. So we can help you at the brainstorming stage, and we can help from coming up with initial ideas to prototyping. Through development with user testing, you get expertise in usability and business development throughout the entire design process. We also come up with UI sketches, so we can create low fidelity prototypes after we've done our market research, because that's a great place to start and just start jotting down ideas. And we can facilitate those UI brainstorming sessions as well. We come up with sketches and basic functionality, and it really helps to give a voice to your new game concept, your new idea for a game. So we're not opposed to conducting traditional market research. We had a few slides earlier that kind of told you why those games were flops because of traditional market research. However, we're not opposed to doing it. Some gaming companies still want to do it in conjunction with how we do testing. Some companies just insist on doing it. So we are not opposed to it. Well, we can see where your idea fits into the marketplace. And with our company, of course, we have client confidentiality. That's paramount here at Situated Research. We never discuss any gaming projects that we worked on in the past, future, or present. So we sign non-disclosure agreements. So keep on the theme of methodology tests that we can do. We can also do play testing and focus groups. So we can conduct hands-on game testing with users. We can also do traditional focus groups. So we could have 100 to 300 plus gamers, or we could do small groups. We can do this on site, which I'll be completely honest with you, 95% of the time, we are doing this research, setting up a lab at the gaming companies, or they already have a lab set up because they've done their own testing before, or we have a lab as well here in Chicago. But if we do our lab, something that sets us aside is that it's not a traditional lab setting. We have cameras set up that are hidden within a living room setting. And so we do have users come in, but we have them come in with a friend, and we have them play the game for as long as they want to play a game. And they play, and we videotape it, and then we analyze that videotape. As some people say, how do you recruit players? Recruiting of players is all handled by us. It's never outsourced. And we screen gamers for quality control as well. So here at Situated Research, we can conduct single-player, cooperative, or multiplayer play tests. So you gain a comprehensive understanding of your game from both quantitative and qualitative perspectives. Gamers will evaluate the game through individual surveys and discussions beforehand and after playing. And we do focus groups as well. As far as focus groups go, a lot of people have questions about that. We have 5 to 10 participants per group. We try to keep it small. Multiple groups are conducted in order to cover all target audiences, and moderators have experience conducting 1,000+ groups in the past. We watch and direct the discussion in real time, and you can learn about your users' attitudes, beliefs, desires, and reactions to different gaming concepts and ideas. As I said earlier, we can also do guided interviews. So focus groups provide group consensus on what consumers want, and interviews accomplish the same thing without bias of what others want in the group. So sometimes if you're in a group setting, you might be a little biased because the majority of the group is saying one thing, so that might skew what you want to say. But in these individual interviews, obviously you don't know what anybody else is saying, so you are giving us your honest feedback. Moderators normally influence participants by guiding questioning in a certain direction. So we utilize our expertise to get unbiased and accurate responses from users. We never guide our users. We never give follow-up questions that would guide them into a certain direction. And we see this all the time with different usability firms that just conduct testing and don't analyze what they find, and then give that feedback back to the gaming companies and just conduct the tests. So we find this all the time when moderators are involved, that they don't know how to rate the questions. And so they're leading users into a certain direction, which you never want to do. That's another reason why we're different as well. So we inform design. We ask the right questions so we can help you to figure out what users desire. How satisfying is it to play your game? Is the game fun? This is going to generate areas of focus for your design team. And then we list out these design focuses for your team so they can see the data if they want to see it. They can see the video if they want to see it, if the user is actually playing the game or using a prototype. And then they can see our suggestions for guiding them through design. We also do cyclical testing, and so we can hone design and usability and verify any changes, and then we can inform design again. So it's kind of a cycle: design, test, feedback. This type of testing helps us to gain huge returns for the gaming companies that we've worked with, but it does conduct multiple testing. The biggest thing here at Situated Research that we sell is our expert reviews. Our experts who are on our staff have PhDs. And they have PhDs in different areas, from communication to psychology to information architecture, etc. So our experts can give you a thorough analysis looking at all these different areas because they all play into the overall user experience. Our expert reviews can also help nail down design. And in our findings, we give you a report that for gaming companies usually turns out to be a couple hundred pages. It's a lot of review that our experts do. And they will pick the game apart and they will look at every aspect of it and give you feedback into the overall user experience and say, hey, you know, this area of the game, we found that users felt this way and they were having these issues and they didn't like this and this wasn't working properly or whatever. Here are our suggestions for fixing this section. So we offer solutions as well. And it really helps to guide the design path big time. And in that report, we also want to meet your business objectives because every business has objectives and goals. So we want to make sure that those are met as well in the gameplay. So with usability testing, it's the perfect way to figure out the user interface and make sure that it works for users with actual gaming footage. So recording users playing the game is very important. And we recruit gamers with demographic and behavioral profiles that will meet your expectations. So once we figure out our user segment, we know exactly what demographic to go after in our pool of gamers to use as users. And we can develop customized discussion guides that are unique to your interface for after gameplay as well. So what do we do here at Situated Research? Our motto is we keep it simple. Results are clear, concise, and to the point. We basically make usability research straightforward for everybody involved. Next, we evaluate in situ. In situ means natural environment. So like I said, our lab is not an actual lab, it's a living room with hidden cameras so that users don't feel like they're the ones being tested, which we see that a lot with usability firms. We're not testing the users, we're testing your game. And so we have them in their actual environment where they would play a game. We say, bring your friend, and we let them play for as long as they want. Now, we have had games that we've tested where people, after half an hour, are like, this sucks, I'm leaving. I don't want to do this anymore. It's not fun. And that's all feedback that we need. And then we conduct exit interviews and ask them questions about their gaming experience. And that's all feedback to give back to the video game company. So we video record our gameplay, we evaluate that video, and we report back the results to the companies, but we also give them solutions. Quick story, when we started Situated Research back in 2008, we attended the Meaningful Gameplay Conference in Michigan. It was the first one. And the keynote speaker was from EA. And he said, you know, we spent over $1 million in user testing with a company in California, which is no longer in existence. And all we got was video of users playing the game. And basically quality assurance testing, saying this part of the game has a glitch, this part, you know, whatever the issue was. There wasn't anything as far as the user experience goes. There wasn't anything with the psychology of the user. There wasn't anything with the way you communicate with the game. And this was with the game Spore. And he said we spent over $1 million and it was a disaster and we didn't get any feedback. And so that's when my husband and I were sitting next to each other. We had attended the conference and we looked at each other and we were like, wow, my husband has a PhD. And he has a PhD in many different areas. He has an interdisciplinary degree. And his research for his PhD was taking video games, educational video games, like Roller Coaster Tycoon, and taking that game into a classroom environment and having the students take what they learned from the classroom and play the video game and apply that knowledge and then look at the usability, user experience of the game. And so we looked at each other and we're like, duh. We're like, these people paid over $1 million for video clips. They didn't get anything meaningful because the usability company that EA hired didn't have any background in psychology, communication, usability, user experience. They just gave EA video clips and said, hey, there's a problem with this part of the game. Fix it. And they're like, we paid over $1 million. So that's how Situated Research came into existence. So we brought on a bunch of PhDs and bunch of expert scientists and reviewers and brought them onto our team, and they help us create some pretty spectacular video games, which is really cool. So you have experienced researchers that are going to review video actual gameplay in the gamer's natural environment. So by doing that, you're able to identify the areas needing improvement. We can also provide suggestions for much needed improvements. So we give solutions as well. The cameras record the user's face and the screen. So when we have users in a natural environment and we are videotaping them, we take that video and we put it in our cloud-based system, which I'll tell you in just a moment, called Transana. And we look at the actual video, but then we also have the video transcribed. So everything that's said is transcribed. And we even go a step further and use Jeffersonian notation, which means nonverbal communication is transcribed as well. So if someone's playing a video game, as an example, and they're fighting, and they're saying, oh my God, I'm going to get him. Oh, I got to use my gun. Where's my gun? Where's my gun? And they're trying to flip through, their artillery and see what they have to use. And they're like, oh, shoot, I already used the gun. I'm out of bullets. I got to use my knife. All of this and the way that they're gesturing and how they raise their voice, all of this is notated. This is all transcribed. And then we can take video clips, be like, at this point in the game, the user is really excited, but when he got excited, this happened, and they forgot that you could do this, or whatever. And then we give a solution to the gaming company. Like, you may want to put up reminders. You might want to have the screen up when they enter a fighting situation that automatically puts up what their artillery is, or whatever. And so we can give that all to the gaming company instead of saying, here's 45 minutes of video. Okay, these areas, there are some problems with the user interface. Good luck to you. Okay, that's not what we do. Other usability companies will do that. And EA found that out, $1 million plus for that. So we transcribe the whole conversation using our cloud-based system, Transana. And Transana was developed by a university professor at the University of Wisconsin. And it's a usability research platform where we have a server, we have the software, and we can have a bunch of our PhD experts looking at the same video, picking out clips, and giving that feedback, which is really cool. It shows us patterns of use. So we can pick out patterns and mark those. We can mark key results. It's a qualitative research platform. So we can complete recursive analysis showing user behavior. We can build multiple transcripts, as I stated earlier. And experts study the interactions. They examine the user interface, communication, and how users learn within the gameplay. And we can do remote user testing as well. Again, having a user in their natural environment is key, but we can gain that rapid feedback and then inform design. That's the great power of user testing, because we can gain quick user feedback like that and report that back to a company. So if you want to learn more about us and what we do, you can visit our website at situatedresearch.com. It lists all the services that we provide, and we provide all the traditional services as well. You can also go to our actual video game site, which is situgames.com, and learn more about the video game division of our company. Situated Research, we conduct usability testing on software, video games, and websites. So we kind of made a separate website just for the video game industry if they want to check that out. So that's situgames.com. You can feel free to contact us at the phone number listed, as well as the email address. So I want to thank everyone for attending today. I'm going to leave you with a little video about our company. Ever wonder what goes through the heads of your gamers? Situated Research analyzes player engagement, resulting in games that are more fun to play. From market research to UX testing, we've got you covered. Visit situgames.com to learn more.